In 2019, we bought a used Promaster.
Yep. Built it into a camper van to travel across the country.
We're Rich and Robin.
And this is our midlife van.
This is our 2014 Ram Promaster. It's a 3500 one-ton chassis. It's a 159-inch wheelbase. And now it's been our camper van that we've been able to go anywhere and everywhere.
We decided to search for a used van. That way we wouldn't have too much out of pocket if it was something that we weren't going to enjoy. After searching Craigslist, OfferUp, and other online sources, we found a used Promaster 2014 for $14,000, but it had 150,000 miles on it. But Rich is really good with vehicles, and so he was able to go over the engine and look out the van, and he determined it was one that would last a long time.
We were determined to buy a used vehicle. We wanted a used van because we weren't still sold on have a camper van. Anytime you're looking at a used vehicle, there's always a whole lot of unknowns. You don't know how well the previous people have taken care of it by maintenance or not. But there are a lot of telltales you can be able to discover just by looking under the vehicle or under the hood. Some of the things you want to look for is any obvious crash damage. And so there may be some bumpers that are a little dinged up like ours was, but as long as there's no frame damage, if you look underneath and the frame's not buckled up, everything looks pretty straight, then you're usually pretty good. You also want to look for any signs of rust. If there's a lot of rusted out areas, that means it's going to just continue and it's just going to plague with problems. There are some resources out there. So there's Carfax that will actually be able to tell you a whole lot of information. So it's definitely worth the 20 or 30 bucks to be able to run the VIN through Carfax, be able to see if it has a salvage title, see if there's any collisions or any major accident damage. And a lot of times too, it'll actually show you how much maintenance has been done to it. And so look through the glove box. Maybe the previous owner has actually kept records. And so if you could see that the oil changes have been done every 5,000 to 10,000 miles, and they're pretty religious on that, those are all good telltales. If you don't see that, you can assume maybe they didn't do it, but you should be able to try to get more information. Then you want to try to ask the previous owner if they have any records and if they can be able to prove. A lot of people will say, yeah, it's been maintained, but if you do oil changes every 30,000 miles, that's not maintained. Anytime you buy something with a whole lot of miles, what you want to do is baby it and take really good care of it. So you could probably go 12,000, 15,000 miles between oil changes, but I wouldn't recommend that on an older vehicle. I tried to change oil every 5,000 or 6,000 miles, and the transmission fluid every maybe 30,000 to 40,000 miles. So it's just a little preventive maintenance. That on top of baiting it and just not over revving it, not overloading it, hopefully you're going to get a lot more life out of the vehicle. A lot of different service centers are really high into what they call transmission flushing, and you don't want to do that. Transmission flushing actually can cause you a whole lot more problems, so you want to avoid that like the plague. You want to make sure that the transmission oil gets replaced, drained and replaced, and also the transmission filter is also replaced. A lot of times, especially on the Promasters, what they'll end up putting is a drain pan with a drain bolt on it on the transmission, and that way they just drain the transmission fluid and refill it, but you definitely want to pull the pan and replace the filter every single time. And when you pull the pan, you always want to look to see if there's any metal chunks. You know, you may have some like fine metal particles or like metal dust, and that's just normal wear and tear. But if you see clumps or if you see excessive pieces of metal or excessive clutch material, then you got to start wondering, what's going to come in the near future. If you look on some of the Facebook forums, there's Promasters out there with 400,000, 500,000, 600,000 miles on the original engine and original transmission. And if you look and you add how that lasts so long, it's because of good preventive maintenance. It's prompt oil changes, it's taking care of the transmission by replacing the fluid and the filter early, and it's babying the vehicle. So they can last.